Sure.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, we're live now. So, happy Sunday and happy New Year. so, hello everybody. I hope you had an amazing New Year's Eve and a wonderful New Year's Day. I hope that you tuned in to the Rose Parade and were at the Rose Parade marching alongside Carlos and many others who were demonstrating and reminding people about the importance of the climate crisis. So, hello, Carlos. Good morning. And before we get started, let me just remind everyone that you're watching Stand Up Fight Back, where we discuss strategy and analysis for the progressive movement. I'm your co host, Margot Paez. I'm a scientist, engineer, and occasional journalist. And over here, that's Carlos Marroquin. He is an amazing, extraordinarily hardworking grassroots organizer based in Los Angeles. Carlos, good morning.
Well, good morning, everybody. I am happy to be here. I don't want to sound too joyous, but I am joyous because we are entering into a new year full of challenges, full of hope, but full of opportunities. It is a good day to be here. A beautiful, gorgeous, absolutely gorgeous Sunday morning here in Southern California. I got my coffee, breakfast. I done a lot of reading this morning. I, had time to meditate and think about, our past year, reflect on it, and I got an opportunity to close my eyes and think about the possibilities coming for the future. And I tell you, I am very, very excited to be here this morning with you, Margaret, because it's another year that we have left behind and we have accomplished so much. We have remained the course. We're steadfast. We have not given up. We have not thrown the towel, and we remain, as I say, hopeful. Because what gives me hope, Margaret, is people like that came yesterday to our event, to the action. That's what gives me the hope, knowing that there are dedicated people out there. And I'm not just talking about the action that we did yesterday, but they represent people that care about the issues that we all care and affect us. We had activists yesterday that rose up early in the morning, 3 o'clock in the morning. We're loading up the truck and moving to Pasadena to bring an action that, in my opinion, was one of the best actions that we have had at the Rose Parade, even with the small amount of people that we had and the challenges that we had. It was impactful. I want to talk a little bit about it later on today because we have so much to talk about. But that's my welcome morning to you today, wherever you may be watching us. I am here in Southern California, joined by my beautiful friend, someone that I admire so much, Margaret. I lost sound.
Well, thank you. Sorry, yeah, I put myself on mute. Well, thank you, Carlos. Unfortunately, I got the booster shot. The audience may not know that. I got the booster shot, and I kind of timed it wrong. Tried to make it to the Rose Parade, but could not get myself to walk the several blocks that I needed to walk to get to the starting line. So I went home, took a Tylenol, and yeah, doing a lot better now. But I am definitely glad I got it either way. But I look forward to hearing more about how the event went. It sounds like it was absolutely phenomenal. So, very excited for that. And I think 2021 was quite a year, Carlos. A lot went down, and
Right.
it's kind of crazy how much happened from the beginning of the year with the election, well, at the end of 2020, and then the inauguration of Joe Biden in January. It seemed like things were changing for the better at that point. I think we can ask whether or not that's happened. How much of the promises that Joe Biden made on the campaign trail have thus been uh, acted upon, have come into fruition. A lot happened in terms they passed various legislations. There was another COVID legislation that passed at the beginning of the year, and then there was the battle over the filibuster, the reconciliation bill, also known as Build Back Better, the infrastructure legislation, the voting rights legislation, the fight with Joe Manchin and Kristen Sinema. There's a lot of stuff that happened on the national side in that regard, but also the rise of progressives seems to be continuing, and I think progressives in particular, at least we saw on in the House, progressives are definitely starting to exercise a little bit of power, the little power that they have, and that's very good to see. So, Carlos, where would you like to start?
Oh wow! I mean, definitely we have to. There's a lot to talk about. We have a whole year in review, 2021. But what we want to do this morning is pretty much mix in 2021 and 2022 because literally they go hand in hand.
Mhm.
The issues that we fought on 2021 remain, and they will remain for a while. The challenges are the same, some greater, some we have been able uh, to improve, to build on. But overall speaking, is we are in track. We are in track right now to accomplish great things. That is, if we remain focused, if we don't throw the towel, if we don't catch an attitude that things will never change, then things will never change. We can bring change. We are bringing change. We are making progress. We have challenges. We have disappointments. We have opposition, but we have heart. And that's how we're going to win. That's how we're winning. That's how we're breaking barriers. That's how we being able to elevate conversations that were not heard about 2 years ago. Stop, close your eyes for a moment, think about it. How far have we actually traveled? We are not where we want to be. We're not. But we are not where we used to be. We have come a long ways, people. And 2022 can be our year. We can make this our year if we want to. And what I'm seeing right now are opportunities. And I keep saying that to you guys. I see that in my personal life. I see that in the opportunities we have as a community here in Los Angeles. And I see that as an opportunity we have in the movement in our country and in the world. We have opportunities. How we unite those thoughts? How do we unite those ideas? How is it that we move forward an agenda that affects people in a positive way? That's the challenge. And that challenge is met by commitment. If people commit themselves, if people stay focused, we're going to overcome. We're going to overcome. So, Market, I mean, we can start back a year ago, really, because this is going to be the talk of this week. Everywhere that you turn right now, starting today, this morning on the different news outlets, media news outlets, everybody talking about the insurrection, January 6th. It's real. It happened. You know, everybody's going to spin their own ideas as to what went wrong or why did it happen or this and that. The Great Steal, Trump going literally days before the election taking place. And mind you, by then they already had numbers coming in, hard numbers of his loss. So they start spinning a lot of these things that the election was being stolen days before even anybody cast a vote. They already had set the ground. That was part of the plan. But regardless of what happens, and the investigations go on, 700 people have been charged on 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 uh, on the day of a violent day that took place, because it was a violent day. There's people that die behind it, and you know there's things that have happened, but the conversation will continue. The spins of stories will continue to happen, aid by corporate media from both sides. And when I hear it, the stations, the elections are stolen. There's shenanigans, all this other stuff. We know that always happens, but it happens from both sides. The people that are accusing the station that the election was stolen are the same people that stole other elections. So, they are the ones changing the laws right now to steal future elections. So, on one hand, you cannot tell me how bad it is that they stole your election, at least what you claim to do, and you're doing exactly the same thing. Get a life, people. You know what I mean? We see right through you. It's garbage where they all these stealing the election. It's garbage because they have been stolen from the people a long time ago by both parties. Some a little bit more bold than others. And there's the shenanigans that go on. You see that over there where you live, Margot, in Atlanta, in Georgia. The laws that they passed specifically to steal elections. So all this, they're stealing the elections. Really? You stealing elections. The people that are claiming that these elections are stolen are stealing elections. All right. So much to talk about. But that was back in January, the things that happened.
Yeah. That what happened with the insurrection, or I guess called the insurrection, the January 6th event, is very interesting because the people who participated, I think a lot of them were misled as to what it was about, and not just as to what it was about, but just overall in terms of what was actually happening in the world and in the United States. There's a lot of conspiracy theories that were going around, and people were really feeling threatened by something that wasn't actually happening. And so they showed up on these based off of lies, and a lot of them thought that they were really defending the United States, like the actual U.S., the republic, so to speak. And in reality, they were duped. And so I think it's really sad because all of those people who were arrested, now they're facing a really horrible situation, and they're getting a taste of what the prison system is like in the United States, which is really a really ugly system. And to the point where Representative Marjorie Taylor Greene was like, "Oh, these prisons are terrible." Like, "Oh, really? You didn't care when Black and brown people were being thrown into prison and being treated this way and being fed gruel and forced to sleep on dirty floors, etc." But now these folks are really getting a taste of it, and it's very sad. I mean, it's just like everyday people who were sucked into this drama. And of course, Donald Trump was somebody who fueled it. He loved it. He loved seeing people get angry over the stuff because I guess it stroked his ego, and he encouraged it. He encouraged it, and he ruined all these people's lives, which is just incredibly sad.
And what is worse, Margaret, is that not only he instigated this, they created this. That's what we know. It doesn't take a genius to see what took place.
Mm-hmm.
This was a tactic that they created to pretty much stay in power. And they used their base. They used innocent people. They used weak people. They used weak minds. They used unsuspected people. They prey on their emotions. They spin stories that got people emotionally upset and
Mhm.
reactive. This all, if you notice, kind of people over there, these are all reactionary people. You hear
Mhm.
it through the comments that we're making in social media. You heard it through interviews, through videos. These were very emotionally, how do you call it, action-minded people. They react on emotions. They're not thinkers. You know, we had even professional people that got involved in this like that, and it's unreal. We got people that work with in law enforcement, that went against law enforcement, that participated in violent acts against police officers of their own. People from they're supposed to be on the same side, you know. So when we see levels of violence at that time, at that point, within the government, within the military, by the way, we have a general, for crying out loud, involved in all this conspiracy stuff. That tells you how bad the thing is, and that we live in a dream world, because the reality is that, yeah, we're supposed to have laws and rules, and things supposed to be flowing in a way that protects everyone, but that's not the case. This is about power, money. This is about control, and we should be doing better, because this is the 21st century, right, Margaret? And we have a long ways to go, but I think that January 6th should serve as an eye opener for the people, of how bad and how weak the system can be.
Yeah, absolutely. I think our society is really, really fragile right now. And the event that happened on January 6th is a big indicator of how fragile it is. And going into midterms this towards the end of this year, I guess, and then the election in 2024, it's a little bit concerning. I don't think that these fragile aspects of our society have been addressed yet. So I think that there's plenty of room for more of this kind of stuff to happen going forward. So we'll see what happens. We'll see what happens. Not a little bit worried, although I mean, of course, I think that there's for what we're doing that there is a lot of hope and a lot to look forward to, but we should always keep this in mind that there's this underlying current of discontent among people and an extreme distrust of the institutions in this country and a complete distrust in government in this country for a variety of reasons. So we really have to keep that in mind going forward. But on the side of things that have been positive, I think that the progressive movement has a lot to be happy about. Don't you think, Carlos?
Well, there is so much ground that we have gained. We got to look at the whole picture as a whole, because with everything that has transpired for the past year, including COVID-19, that has not gone away, will not go away for a while. We have had a series of variants that had continued to affect uh, the general public in different aspects, including the fact that there has been mandates that have affected the people, the workers, small businesses, etc. The level of poverty that has risen because of the pandemic. Many people being pushed into homelessness. People unable to go to work. People unable to pay their bills. Uh, and with all this, it triggered high cost of living by leap and bounds. All those things, are are trickled down from the very issues that have been affecting us prior to the pandemic. But now everything is in steroids. So yes, we have serious problems. Yes, we have ongoing stuff that may be with us for long for periods of times. But here's the thing: progressives have made and gained ground for the first time in decades. Really, we are seeing progressive agenda being pushed forward in ways that we have not seen. We have entered into the national conversation on the issues that we've been fighting for, the past few years. That's why we have to be excited. That's why we have to remain hopeful. And that's why we got to keep pushing forward. It is not time to give up. It is a time to realize that what we have worked for in the past few years, decades, some people, is here. This is our time. This is why even a lot of moderates are starting to look at the progressive agenda. And some of them, I want to say some of them, very few of them, are all of a sudden saying, we can do better. Why we even, opposing these issues? They know that education is a burden. The cost of education is a burden. That the cost of, the amount of debt that just education has in the necks of people is beyond belief. And if they were able to bring relief to all the student debt, it's a win-win for everybody, because now you have money to spend on other things. It'll create jobs, it creates opportunities, people are able to buy things, the economy flourish. And I'm not an economist, and I know that I'm right, because this is where I talk to people. It's a no-brainer. So the conversation is there. We just got to get it to the other side. So progressives, we cannot give up. This is our time. We have members in Congress that are progressive. We have members in the Senate that lean progressive. Not a lot of, but we have members of the Senate that lean. We have people in there that are smart, that have to play politics. Yes, they have to. But at the end of the day, we know we had their vote. That's what we have to build on and not give up.
Yeah, well, we need more progressives, I think, still, if we want if we want our agenda on a national level to be passed. That's for sure. Because I think, though, even though our ideas as progressives are pretty universal, or fairly universal in this country, like most of the things that we're proposing are very popular. The majority of Americans support these ideas, like healthcare, education, housing. Most people are angry at the banks for what they've done. They haven't forgotten the recession. So, yeah, these things are popular, but I still think that we need a lot more progressives in Congress before we're actually going to see this legislation pass. So, if that's our concern, is to pass legislation to get these done, then we're going to have to elect more people to Congress who share our values, because what we've seen so far is that we're not able to get uh, our agenda through Congress, because from the president down to the Senate, down to certain members of the House, we have people who are stalling, finding ways to stall our agenda, and that's all on the Democrat side. The Republicans, they just have to sit back and vote no and let the Democrats fight amongst each other, and that's what we're seeing, and that's a huge problem. You bring up student loans, student debt, that's in the trillions of dollars. And what did it take? I mean, it did take external pressure. The debt collective worked very hard on this, putting pressure on Congress, even reporters asking about it, like, why are you restarting student loans if we're still in a pandemic? And Jen Psaki looked so foolish, saying like, well, it's just going to make things look normal again. We're just trying to get to normal, and this is one of the things on our agenda. And then in the end, they had to step it back and say, okay, we're not going to do it until like May, or I think. So it's going to require a lot of pressure still. Even though we have popular ideas, we still have to put pressure either by electing, or maybe both, electing more people to Congress, and putting pressure, external pressure, on the politicians and Joe Biden, because Joe Biden does want to get reelected, and I think he knows that the support among young people has dropped significantly, among millennials and Gen Z has dropped significantly. Young people are sick and tired of this. They know. I mean, you look at the primaries leading up to this in both 2016 and 2020, in the Democratic primaries, young people overwhelmingly support Bernie Sanders. Therefore, young people want a Bernie Sanders agenda. They don't want a centrist corporate agenda. They don't want people like Joe Manchin getting in the way of climate change legislation, things that are going to stop us from entering a horrible situation and a horrible future, right? And this future is not 2100, it's within this decade. Scientists are freaking out because this winter has been totally crazy. They're like, I don't even know, like, this is happening faster than I expected. I don't have any words for it. I mean, it's scary. And we can't even get incentives for clean energy, I mean, it's crazy. So yeah, we have to put a lot more pressure if this is the path that we're going to take, which is to get this agenda through legislative actions. So but like I said, I think Biden is also recognizing that if he wants a reelection, or if the Democrats want to win in 2024, even if it's not Joe Biden, that they need young people's support, because the people who voted for them, who are that much older, who are among their age, like the people in their 80s and the late 70s, those people are not going to be around for too much longer, believe it or not. So their support is going to erode on that side of the equation. So they do need to appeal to young people. And right now they're not doing enough. So it's a good chance to put pressure on them and remind them that they do need people under 40 to vote for them. So I'm hoping that as progressives, that we can recognize that and use that as a bargaining chip, I guess, and say, like, look, you still need us. Look at the poll numbers. They're embarrassing. You want to win, you better start doing things that are going to appeal to us, because otherwise we're not voting for you. And that's the reality. I don't think that young people should be pushed into that position again that they were pushed in, that we were pushed in for 2020, where it was like, well, either vote for Trump or get nuclear war or worse, pandemic. Because the reality is that even at the minimum, we expected a slightly better handling of the pandemic, and I don't think that we're seeing that right now, especially with Omicron. So young people, I don't think should give in to that pressure anymore, and should say, either you do it or you don't, or we're going to find another way. We don't need you. So that's my motivation for 2022 is enough is enough, and they owe us. We don't owe them.
Exactly. And look at there is a disconnect right now that exists and has existed for a long time with the Democratic Party. And the disconnect is that they have always claimed that they are the party of the people, but they're disconnected from the reality of the issues and that really are affecting people's lives. They talk the talks, they have the talking points, but they don't have no action behind it. That has to change. At times, if not, I would say most of the time, it's kind of hard to tell both parties apart, except one is pretty much say things in open. But when you open the curtain and you see what's behind the curtain, you see the same thing. That's why people always say things will never change. You know what I mean? People don't want to participate. They don't want to. They don't want to. They don't want to go out and vote. 2024 is going to take care of itself. That's down the road. Democratic Party has a bigger problem. 2022, this year elections, they can lose the House, which means that you have already a weak Democratic Party. It will become even weaker because it appears, and at times it is real, that the minority party is literally controlling the country. The minority party that have no power has the power, because a year into the Biden presidency, we have seen few changes, not a lot. There's still no immigration policies. Housing crisis continues to grow. Homelessness is nowhere to be wiped out, or even, we haven't even scratched the surface to deal with homelessness. We have the student debt. You have medical issues with people uninsured, and the list goes on and on and on and on. 2022 is going to be elections, and there's a good chance the Democrats may lose the House. What do that mean? More opposition. It means, a Republican Party setting up a huge agenda to bring the White House back to them. It means obstruction. It means all kinds of things. If they cannot get it done right now that they're in power, what makes them think that they're going to do it, when the Republicans take back the House? And the Senate. They may actually even lose the Senate. So what, you have a president that is a moderate president? Because Joe Biden is no progressive. Let's get that through our heads. Joe Biden is not a progressive. He has never been a progressive. He's talking some of the talks. He's saying some of the things because he's trying to keep that level of control that he's in. Well, that he's pretty much in charge. But Bernie Sanders pushed him into these kind of conversations. It's not like all of a sudden Joe Biden say, "Oh, I like to think about some of these progressive agendas and I'm concerned about Medicare or this or that." It's like they've been centrist. Joe Biden has been a centrist all his political life.
He's worse than that, I think.
Right?
The guy, Joe Biden, I mean, he's the reason why students cannot file for bankruptcy on student loans. Right? He's one of the people who made that possible. He took the side of the loan servicers, the banks who administered these loans, and said, nah, you can't file for bankruptcy. We're going to force you to pay, which is great because, for all the people who gamble on these loans, because that's how Wall Street works, is that your loans are being gambled on. People are like taking bets, effectively, legally taking bets on whether you're going to repay them and what's the likelihood based off of your credit score, etc. And so basically what the government did was ensure that those people who are taking bets get paid. So that's why you cannot file for bankruptcy. So Joe Biden did that. He was part of that. But, even looking at now what Joe Biden has done, which just makes me really angry because climate change is so important, Carlos, and he pretends that he cares. I think this guy is still really a climate denier because, look, so the administration claimed that they couldn't stop this leasing of offshore drilling of oil, right? And they claimed it was court ordered, but it wasn't court ordered. They could have stopped it, and they didn't. And these permits could lead to 600 million tons of greenhouse gas emissions. So this didn't have to happen, but they did anyway. I mean, what is this? This
Right.
administration doesn't care about climate change. The Democratic Party leadership doesn't care about climate change. I mean, it's awful. They're selling off our future to these oil companies who are going to put more oil into the atmosphere. I mean, more CO2 emissions into the atmosphere. And these offshore drilling things, like they're going to start building them. Okay, that's going to take CO2, right? That's going to emit CO2 because they're going to need concrete, they need whatever. That's a lot of manufacturing. And then it's going to take like a decade, let's say, to actually get this online. So that's 2030. So how long are they going to run these offshore drilling sites? 20, just for 10 years to 2040, 20 years to 2050? Like, no, these corporations, these oil corporations are planning to run their oil industry forever. That's their goal until the planet becomes so unlivable. But what does it matter to them, right? They made a bunch of money while they were alive, so they don't care. And the administration is just going along with it. I just don't see how they can be allowed to get away with this right now, given the situation we're in, given that, like, if we hit 2 degrees Celsius, there's so many tipping points at that point. And right now the way that we're operating, the way that governments in the West in particular, the rich nations are operating, they're all planning, so many of them are planning to bring more fossil fuel production online instead of tapering it down as they've been promising. So we're on our way to 1.5 degrees Celsius. And the fact that everything is speeding up right now in terms of our worst expectations, the worst case scenario, things that scientists used to say, we didn't expect that to happen until 2100, and it's happening now, 2021, 2020, going into 2022. So that's like 80 years in the future that we expected this stuff to happen is happening now, and they're operating as if nothing is happening. We had these incredible fires in Colorado in the middle of winter because they're in a massive drought, and they had these horrible winds, and homes, whole town, up in flames, like just as we've seen in other parts of the United States and in Canada. Like, so I mean, I'm going off a little bit of a rant here, but I just think that what Joe Biden is doing, and we're talking about him not being a progressive, he's absolutely not. But I think he's worse than not even being than being a centrist. I think he's much worse than that. I think the whole administration has gone down the wrong path on this, and they're really condemning us to a horrible future. I don't think that they deserve to be in office. I don't think Joe Biden or the Democrats deserve to be in office. I don't think the Republicans do either. But, at least the Republicans are honest when they say they don't care. So I think we need a lot of pressure to change that. We need a lot more of the squad to take over the Democratic Party. And the thing is that we're running out of time in terms of what, how quickly we can get that done with these 2 and 4 year cycles. Like, you add those up, like every 2 years, okay, 2022, then the next cycle, 2024, then the next cycle, 2026, right? Like, how many people can we get elected in these short periods or in these sort of long periods of time, actually? Because so far we've got, a handful of this, which is the squad. And every cycle, it seems like we add a couple or more, like 2 or 3 more. But we have over 100 seats to fill in Congress, and 50 seats, half of that, 25 seats, I guess, right? No, 50 seats. No, the booster shot's getting to me, so I'm getting my numbers mixed up. But basically, we've got quite a number of seats that we want to fill with progressives in Congress. So we have a lot of work to do there. And if we're not going to be able to do it all there at that level, we have to also start thinking about in 2022 how we're going to get our agenda done without Congress, without the government support, and against the government support. Because right now, I actually think that the government is not interested in the things that we care about as much as we have some very good people, a few good people in there. It's a very difficult situation. So progressives have to start thinking about what can we do to get our agenda done without the help of politicians.
Right.
That's something that we need to think about. And I don't have all the answers on that, but I think that each of us should start really thinking about that rather than thinking like, oh, they're just not going to do it. They don't care about us. What's the point? We have to stop conceding power to these people. We have to stop telling them that they have an authority over us on everything and that they're the only ones that can change the situation. We have to take that power back for ourselves. And really, all that takes is just saying, actually, let's figure out how to do this ourselves. That's all it takes. Let's think about this. How can we solve this crisis ourselves without the government's help? Because I don't think that we have enough time right now to really just wait for them to come around to our side. So as much as I do think that electing politicians who are progressives is part of the agenda that we have, I think that we need to put a little bit more or a lot more effort in thinking about what we can do ourselves to get this done. And one of the ways I think is possible is there's somebody named Debbie Bookchin. She's the daughter of Murray Bookchin, who came up with this like eco-communalism idea theory. But she's written a book called Radical Municipalities. And I think that her book is a very worthwhile read for everybody on the progressive movement. She's called for people to effectively do what the Republicans did and take over on the local level and create community organizations so that within your own community, you're making these changes happen. And I think if we act in this more municipal level, this more localist level, that we have a better chance of getting our agenda done. Something that Carlos, that I would like to see a return of. I was watching It's a Wonderful Life recently because Christmas, and my hair is a mess. I apologize, but yeah. It's a Wonderful Life, the Building and Loan, the Bailey Brothers Building and Loan. And this is one of my favorite movies, actually. And not because it's a Christmas movie, because I don't actually think it's a Christmas movie. I think Frank Capra actually put in a lot of really important populist ideas in that film. And one of them is the central message of the Bailey Brothers Building and Loan, which, if you look up what a building and loan was, it actually came from England from the 19th century, friendly societies. And the building and loan was a way in which people in the community who could not afford to get a loan from the bank to buy a home would come together and buy and have shares in the building and loan. And so each person would put money into that. They would collect that, and then they would take turns taking out mortgages. And so that's what the Bailey Brothers Building and Loan was doing. And that's why that was so important. That battle between the building and loan and Mr. Potter was like the battle between the people against the banks. And we're still seeing that battle today. And we need more of that. We need more people coming together, pooling their resources, pooling their finances together, and finding ways to do this as a community for ourselves. We don't have time anymore to wait for the government to do these things for us. We need to do it ourselves. And this, I think, is an idea that we can propagate again. Like, how can we recreate these friendly societies and do this ourselves? And that, to me, is what we should be thinking about in 2022 and going forward through the rest of this decade, is let's just assume for a moment that the government does not come and act in the way that we need. How do we do this ourselves? So I highly recommend the Radical Municipalities book by Debbie Bookchin, and also just rewatch that It's a Wonderful Life, get a little inspired there, and read about friendly societies, because I think that's the direction we need to go. We need to just start working together to build the society that we want and the future that we want and that we deserve. So that's what I think, Carlos. And I'm
No,
going to try to fix my hair.
those are very, very valid points that you bring about. When we think about uh, the epidemic that we are having to deal with, the consequences of it,
Mhm.
how it affects the working class, the poor, uh, seniors. These are very valid things, right? Just on
Mhm.
that issue alone, the pandemic. Then we have a whole list of other things that we have to deal with. The climate, as
Mhm.
you were pointing it out, right? We have elections. We have Trumpism, everything that comes with Trumpism, the Republican Party. We have the shenanigans that they're creating to pretty much steal votes or the votes of people by keeping them out. We have guns, right? It's a huge problem in America, huge problem, right? We have the space race, spending so much money now in space, continuation of wars, as I say, and then we have Mr. Pillow Guy.
Oh yeah, Mr. Pillow Guy.
We have all these things. I had to mention him, the
I
pillow.
forgot about that guy. Yeah, good thing. I know that was on our list.
I, I
Oh
bring
man,
funny, but he's not, and he's funny, but he's not, and I
I
say that
know.
not because he's a billionaire, and these people pour out millions and millions and millions and millions of dollars into elections, but they're gonna cry that they steal in the elections. See the hypocrisy? How can you go around telling, "Oh, they stole the election for Trump," and you're doing the same thing, exactly the same thing, and probably even worse?
Oh yeah.
So those are just some of the things that we have. We have a housing crisis.
Oh, absolutely.
It's
And
not
the no, yeah, and the student loan debt apparently is contributing to the housing crisis. So
I was reading an article today about the housing crisis, how a lot of people moving away from big cities to other places. All the places are now becoming are starting to have huge problems because the amount of people moving there and there's not enough housing.
mhm.
And they're coming and changing, they gentrifying their towns.
Mhm.
Huge problems, people. You think,
Yeah.
solve a problem here and going somewhere else and create another problem? You are not welcome in those towns. You
Yeah.
saw over in Washington. Washington used to be one of the most gorgeous places. Gentrification started taking place. A lot of people start moving to Washington State.
Mhm.
All of a sudden, you start seeing the same issues that brought about big money.
Yeah, Texas also, there's been a lot written about what's going on in Texas with housing there. And part of it is speculation. People are forced to speculate on housing. And it's insane, right? Housing should be a right. It should not be speculated. The value of it shouldn't be something that you bet on so that you can make some money. It's meant to be there so that people don't end up on the street.
So all of a sudden, you have a lot of people coming down there. Yeah, they're creating jobs, but then they're realizing by Musk moving all his company over there, yeah, he's bringing money and all that, but people realize it's not the money that we want. We have all these problems that these people are bringing to our state, and they're taking over. And prices now are going up. Yeah, I can sell my house for a lot more money, but guess what? Where am I going to go with all this money? Because everything else is expensive. Welcome to the real world, Texas. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Welcome to the real world, because if you think that the governor out there and the Republican Party has your back, you're in trouble. Because the very freedoms that they claim that they want to protect are the very freedoms that they're stealing away from the people, all in the name of patriotism behind money. That's all it is. We have serious problems. We need to face with those serious problems, but it's going to take real people to solve those problems. People like you and me. You are 100% correct, Margaret. We got to do this at the local level. We got to get involved locally. Challenges for us facing 2022 starts with you. Challenge yourself. Am I going to be the same person? What did I do in 2021 that I can do different now? Did I meet any of the goals that I set myself to do in 2021? Did I have any goals to begin with? So a lot of people don't even have goals. They just like living day to day.
Yeah.
Think about these things, my brothers and sisters. What are we going to do this next year? Are we planning to volunteer? Are we planning to participate? Are we going to try to put something into motion? Are we trying to create circles of community that we can work with? And people block by block or city by city. What are we doing? We can be looking at everybody else, look at who's doing what. It doesn't start with them. It starts with us, me as an individual. I'm reevaluating, like I said this morning, my personal life. Right now, as I sit here, I have a pretty good idea where I'm going to be spending, the next few days, the next month, the next year is full. My plate is full, but it's not full enough because I want more. I want to make sure that whatever we do, we're going to maximize it. We're going to impact people the most and do it with love, do it with a smile, and knowing that whatever changes we are bringing this thing together. Any ideas that we have, let's do it together. Yesterday, Margaret, the Pasadena event, I consider it one of the best events that we had, even though that we had less volunteers. It wasn't a lot of us that showed up, but the impact that we had to make some tough decisions. We actually had several props, including this huge, beautiful butterfly that we have built. Excuse me. We were not able to roll it through the parade route, but people got touched by the music that we were playing, and also by the glove, the inflatable glove. It connected with people. People were literally dancing on the sides. On the sides, we saw young people dancing to our music. Older people, I saw them in canes doing this. They were dancing. They were being touched. The message was easy. The world cannot wait. I saw it in their eyes. They connected. People applauding. There's some people that actually joined us and were walking with us. So sometimes changes doesn't necessarily mean a lot of people. Sometimes changes can come by one person just standing up and start doing something that inspires others. So, yes, I was completely taken by the love of the activists that came at 3:00 in the morning. I was taken by, us getting out there and marching. We had a difficult time trying to get into the parade route because the sheriff's department, the LA Sheriff's Department, gave us a very hard time. They didn't want to allow us to get in there. They were blocking us. They put their vehicles there. They put barricades. They brought in a whole bunch of sheriffs not to allow us to exercise the First Amendment rights. I made several calls, and after a while, they pretty much let us in, but we were going to go in whether they let us or not. So we did what we had to do. We went in there, and it was beautiful. It was beautiful. So I want to commend and I want to send my love and gratitude for all the volunteers that came out. And I'm going to say this: the success of yesterday's event at the Rose Parade to bring attention to the climate crisis, was because each one of those volunteers showed up. It was not a one person thing. This was all of us together making it happen. And when we come together, we can make beautiful things.
Yeah, absolutely, Carlos. I think you're absolutely right. It doesn't take a lot of people to make a change. It just takes motivation and commitment and a belief in what you're doing is the right thing to do. And other people, they may or may not join you. Hopefully they do, but you can still make a difference even if you're a small group. You just have to be dedicated to what you believe in and don't give up. And I think also it's good if a lot of people come together and work even in small groups on a particular uh, agenda or a particular idea, like around climate change, because the more people who are acting on their ideas of how they see they could take action, the higher the likelihood that one of those sets of people or like one of those groups of people who have a particular idea will succeed. So it's like the law of large numbers. Like the more people who are involved, the more likelihood that one of those groups are going to succeed. So we really need everybody to just take whatever idea you have and just run with it and see where it goes, see what happens. Roger Hallam, one of the co-founders of Extinction Rebellion, has a really great video about this where he talks about what we need to do. I think it's called How to Win the Climate Crisis in 6 Months, something like that. And he goes through like all of the theory that he studied at the university level around civil disobedience and what was sort of the recipe that was successful in civil disobedience actions, looking at like especially the civil rights movement. And one of the things he said was really like just get a small group of people, come together, decide what you're going to do, and then pass out 1,000 flyers, go on tour, talk to people. You'll get like three people who might sign up and be willing to get arrested alongside you or something. And then after you do your action, go around and do a tour and talk to people about what you did, what happened, and then your own actions that you took and those who were arrested, like their experiences will inspire other people, so you can create a chain reaction. So all you have to do is just come up with some concrete plan and follow it through. And that's what we need. It may not be that the end goal is to get arrested. I mean, that was his particular perspective, but there may be other things like organizing, mutual aid, things like that. Don't worry about needing a lot of people. Just get a few of your close friends, people you trust, people who are like-minded, who care as much as you do, and just start going out there and doing these things. Don't worry about whether anybody shows up. Just do them. Don't think twice. The important thing is that we do them. Not everything we do will succeed, but some of the things that we do will succeed. So we just have to find out which ones do and which ones don't.
Right. And sometimes the more you do it, the easier it becomes. And some people are always watching. I am telling you, people are watching even when you don't think they're watching. We don't know where this broadcast ends up, but I have people approach me and tell me, "Hey, I love it. I love the discussions that you guys have on Sundays. Please keep them up." People that I work with, the AIDS Healthcare Foundation, their work didn't start, with resources. They had zero. They were advocating with people that were dying with AIDS when no one wanted to help people with AIDS. The government didn't have solutions. Everything was limited. Pharmaceutical companies had some medicines to alleviate some of the problems, AIDS Healthcare Foundation, one of the founders, Michael Weinstein, went to work. He began to advocate for people with AIDS. They opened up their first hospice to be able to give people dignity while they die. And it began to grow. Today is a multi-billion-dollar foundation operating in 45 countries, 49 countries, I believe, 17 states, with some of the most innovative programs. They have pharmacies. They have gyms where people can go and exercise to build their resistance, their health, and to give them, all those things. Creating a new food program with Food for Health to address food insecurity. All these things are results of one person, two people, three people, 10 people, and all of a sudden everybody coming together and moving towards a common goal for community to address needs within their people, their communities or their cities, and succeeding because of the level of commitment that they have. Did they have challenges? Yes, they hated them, and they still do. There's challenges that comes with everything that we try to do. There's always opposition. And trust me what I'm telling you, as a community organizer, I'm not welcome with arms wide open. There's opposition. There's people that hate me. There's jealousy amongst our groups. There's people that are combative and always trying to create situations to discourage you. What I have learned that is one door closes, you know what I mean? I'll look for another opportunity somewhere else. You know what I mean? I'll move around. I wiggle my way here or there. You know what I mean? There's always going to be other ways that you can do it. If 10 people tell me, hey, I'm going to show up, and then I turn around and nobody shows up, it's okay. I'm not going to freak out. I'm still going to do it. It's on them. It's 100% on them. Because the commitment is not made to me or to a plan that we put together or anything like this. The commitment is made to the issue that we're fighting for. So that's where my commitment is, and that's where it should be. If you care about something, Margaret, whatever that is, you know what I mean? It's up to you how much you want to work on that. And you're accountable to yourself. First person that you're accountable is to yourself. Right? If I say I'm going to do it, shame on me. Because I should not be opening my mouth, say I'm going to do something, when in fact I really don't want to do it. Either do it or shut up. Right? Don't complain. So I'm going to do what I have to do. I see a lot of people doing what they say they're going to do. And I see a whole bunch of people that say a lot and don't do. But we still move forward. 2022 is our year, people. If we want to. If we want to make our year.
Yes, like John Lennon and Yoko Ono said, the war is over if you want it. So if you want it, you can have it. But you have to work for it, of course.
Right.
So that's definitely the message. We have to work for the things that we want. We can't expect other people to give it to us. We can't expect our politicians to just all of a sudden wake up one morning and be like, oh yeah, they were right. I think I'm going to change my mind today. I'm going to go to Congress and I'm going to vote for this legislation. Yeah. No, it's not going to happen. Joe Manchin's not going to wake up tomorrow and be like, yeah, I was wrong. Not a chance. No. So we have to do the hard work ourselves. And honestly, I think if we do it ourselves, we'll be prouder of the outcome.
Oh
because
my God.
We have the vision.
Feels so good. I was so tired last night, Margaret. I got home after we had to drop off. We have to go unload all the stuff. We had to clean up the truck. We took the truck back. Shout out to Paul and Tony. Man, those guys are troopers. Showed up at 3:00 in the morning to help load up the truck. Victor Casas. What a guy, man. What a guy. That guy kept he was the glue that kept things together and worked through a couple of days. It's like no sleep, 2 days. We're out there working for 2 days straight, making things happen, putting things together. And guess what? At the end of the day, after everything was built, we didn't use some of the stuff. We had to make tough choices. The work was done. The work we had to literally leave it behind because we didn't have enough people to carry the stuff. But it felt so good to know that we did our best. We put the best show with what we had, and it was successful. So I didn't get home like maybe 9 o'clock at night. I was so tired, I couldn't even take off my shoes, so tired. But I woke up this morning feeling good, feeling happy, feeling content. Like I said, just reminiscing and thinking about everything that we have done this past year and what lies ahead of us. And I feel like I'm ready to go. If I have to do it all over again, I'm ready to do that. As long as I have breath, I have always say this. As long as I have breath, I have hope. And some of you know that I do have a lung condition and it's hard for me to breathe and everything. But hey, if I'm going to have my last breath, I want to be doing it, in a way that I'm happy doing the things that I love to do. And it's good. It's all good, people. We're going to win.
Yep. Gonna win, yeah. 2022. Woo. I'm pumped. It's gonna be good.
People say you have asthma, and I was like, they're dancing on there. I'm puffing my little thing. I have my. Let me show you. I have my little machine with me that we hooked up to the truck.
Oh man, Carlos. Oh my gosh.
Getting recharged. As soon as that my hit me, I started dancing again. It felt so good. I love doing that. I love it. I'm gonna give you a little secret of me. If I don't do those things, I'll die. Guaranteed. I'll go down. Sometimes we have to push ourselves, even when we don't feel like it.
Mm-hmm.
And believe you me,
yeah,
99% of the time, my body tells me no. If I listen to my body and says no, stay in bed, I'll be in that bed forever. I'm done. I have to get up. I have to open my lungs. I have to stretch them. I have to move. I have to do these things. That's what keeps me going. Pushing myself. And next thing, I find my next wing and I'm able to do things. I know it's hard for people to understand that. But the minute that's what they say, when you retire, don't go and sit down on the couch because you're going to find yourself developing all kinds of illnesses. Get out there and do something. Volunteer. Go for a walk. Do things. Get your body moving. Get it moving. Exercise. Do things. Don't stay, sitting down. That's the worst thing you can do. You got to push yourself. Yes, there are limits. You know what your body can take, but please, whatever you do, keep moving. Don't stop. Let's not stop this year. Let's keep moving.
Well, for those of us who aren't superheroes, though, if your body tells you that you need to take a break, you should take a break, a little one. Carlos doesn't understand that part, but for most of us, we do need to take a little break or else we'll get worse. So Carlos doesn't work that way, but a lot of the people work that way. Take the break if you need it.
I'm not anti-break. I'm not saying don't take a vacation. I'm not saying none of that.
If you're sick, have some soup. Take a little few more hours of sleep.
All those things are important. I'm talking about generally speaking. Don't limit yourself because of your disabilities. Find a way around it.
Of course.
That's all I'm saying. Please don't misunderstand me. I'm not saying ignore the rule or ignore what your doctor says. I'm not saying
There's a medical professional in this room, not
yeah,
sitting not too far away from me. I think
I know
she
scary, man.
wants me to say
I
that.
inspire people to go beyond, you know what I mean? Their disabilities or their own, uh things that they face so that they can, you know, be part of community, and not only be part of community, but to help themselves within their health. Because the reality, look, I believe in medicine, I believe in science and all this other stuff, but I also believe that I have a responsibility to get off the couch and go for a walk and do things and participate. And if I don't like something that's going on in the community, I have a responsibility to get involved. If I don't, I have nothing to say. That's all I'm saying. It's like we got to get up and do things.
Oh, of course, of course.
Don't put your life in jeopardy by listening to Carlos and saying you got to bed all day long. If that's what you want to do it. That's, you know what I mean. I'm just saying what works for me.
Yeah, of course. We have to find a balance, but definitely we have to take action. We do. We can't make excuses for ourselves for those things. Just do the little that you can, whatever it's in the parameters of your life. Just make a little bit of space for that, whatever that means. But we have to. We have to because we're the only people ourselves. We are the only ones who can do this. So we have to find the way, whatever it is, whatever your talent is, your expertise, whatever you have to offer. Maybe you're good at talking to people, maybe you're good at writing, whatever it is.
That's what I'm saying.
You have to just commit a little bit of that.
That's all I'm saying. It's like, you know, if you're gonna have movement in your eyes and in your arms and your hands, don't just use it for the remote control. There's other stuff that you can do with your hands. You know what I mean? To be useful. Huh? Get involved, people. We love you. I don't want everybody to be like me because it would be a boring world. You know, it would be a mess. You know, you have your own uniqueness, your own creativity. We encourage that. I encourage that. You know, I don't expect everybody to have the same level of commitment that I have or involvement. You know what I mean? Be you. Be you. But I do read a lot of messages. I scan sometimes through some of the posts that people post on social media, and sometimes I respond to those things and I send them a message to give them hope and to give them encouragement. And I see sometimes right through them what the issue is, and a lot of that has to do with, you know, people focus too much on themselves, and all of a sudden the issues that are affecting them become gigantic, and they seem to find no way out. But when you start focusing on other things, you no longer are focusing on yourself or your problem, on the magnitude of your problem. And before you know it, it's like the problem that you thought it was giant, it became real small. You know, those are the things. It's not psychology, it's nothing. It's like it works.
Yeah, Carlos. It's a little change in psychology. That's all it takes.
All right. Hey, hello, me. I think she's watching us. She's another trooper, a super volunteer out there doing a lot of work at the food pantries, assisting me in many ways. Always checking out, make sure that I'm taking my medicine, and just being an all the way around supporter. Thank you, Mimi. You are much loved and appreciated by so many people. Your smile always, you know, is charismatic and radiant, and gives, it makes people feel good. Thank you, Mimi, for being you.
Well, Carlos, I think we're out of time now. Time to wrap up.
All right.
Any last thoughts before we sign off?
No, I just like to be able to dedicate this broadcast today to our amazing crew from yesterday at the Rose Parade. for their dedicated work, their commitment, and for being there for all of us. We dedicate this to you and to your efforts. Each one of you is several people that showed up. I don't want to miss anyone. So I just said, all of you guys that came yesterday to the Rose Parade, we dedicate this broadcast to you.
Thank you. Thank you, everybody, for joining us today. Thank you to all the volunteers who showed up yesterday at the event. Your energy and your excitement and your commitment is incredible and incredibly valuable. Thank you for that. Thank you to our viewers for tuning in this morning, waking up on Sunday morning and tuning into our show. And as always, we will be here every Sunday morning at 10 a.m. Pacific time, 1 p.m. Eastern time. You've been watching Stand Up, Fight Back, where we discuss strategy and analysis for the progressive movement. I'm Margot Paez, and this is Carlos Marroquin. And we'll see you again next week. Please stay safe, get vaccinated, wear masks, and be careful out there. That Omicron is pretty contagious. So until next time, we'll see you later. Have a great week.